there doesn't love Pink Floyd, right? If you're of a certain age, you grew up with Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, Animals, um, one of my favorite albums, Wish You Were Here, The Wall. And it's interesting to see what's happened here. You know, the band parted ways. You had David Gilmour and the guys carried on as Pink Floyd, and they had litigation for years over who owned the name, who owned the rights to Pink Floyd. Roger Waters is just Roger Waters now as a solo artist. He's still, but he's performing, he's on tour right now, and he's performing a lot of Pink Floyd classics in his show. But what makes Roger so interesting to me, and I wanted to share this interview, it's about a 30-minute interview he did with CNN. And of course, he demolished CNN. It is beautiful what he does here. And it's you probably don't have time to run the whole thing, but there are some highlights that are just fantastic. Roger, you may not agree with his politics, but his heart is always in the right place. And he's been one of Julian Assange's greatest defenders and most loyal friends who did not desert Julian during the years that everyone else turned their backs on him. Roger stayed true blue.
So he's being interviewed on CNN by, is it Michael Smerconish?
Sorry, I can't pronounce his name. Smerconish? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't watch much CNN these days. So,
Me neither.
I try to
but
avoid
this
it,
is worth it. I promise you this will be worth it.
Okay, let's let the beginning portion roll here, and then we'll get your comments on it.
2020, and now we've gone out in July 20.
Oh, wait a second, chipmunks. Again.
Why does it always do that?
Because I speed watch stuff before the show, so I can
right.
digest the information as quickly as possible. Here we go.
So it was a long wait, but it feels great now. The pandemic thing is an interesting question, but probably not something that we really need to get into now.
Wait,
hold on. Long conversation.
Do tell. Give me the short version.
Oh, well, sure.
You didn't want to talk about it. Motivations of the people who made the decisions about how to deal with the pandemic, particularly in the United States of America, were based on the, on the thing that everything's based on, which is bottom line and profit and all of that, and not based upon the needs of the people. Which is why there's 1 million dead, and in China there's about half a dozen.
But we can never trust their numbers, right? I mean, we have no idea.
Oh, bollocks.
How many?
Don't give me the old Russian Chinese propaganda nonsense.
You believe whatever the Chinese would tell you in terms of the death count?
I believe whatever people who are neutral will tell me about what's going. Where can you find news? And don't tell me you have proper news on CNN.
From me.
Okay.
Come on, I'm balanced.
Well, how would you know? Where do you get your information from?
Roger, I don't talk for a living. By the way, I've missed you. I can tell already. Holy crap. I read for a living. I don't talk for a living. All I do is consume news. And my whole mantra is you got to change the channel and mix up your news diet or you're not getting a straight story.
Well, good for you. And good luck with that theory. If you're going to spend all your time sitting around reading what comes out of Fox and the New York Times and the Washington Post and all that other crap that's out there in the mainstream, followed recently by Rolling Stone, who no longer want to cover proper stories, they won't speak to me.
Why not?
Oh, because they don't deal with legacy acts anymore, I'm told by some new bloke.
Wait, legacy acts that are putting 20,000 fannies in seats a night?
Yeah, those sort of legacy acts. No, they're not interested in it. Actually, I think it might have something more to do with my activism than my role in the music.
Can we get to that?
Of course.
All right. So here's the quote, as I understand, that begins the show. If you're one of those, I love Pink Floyd, but I can't stand Roger Waters' politics, you might do well to F off to the bar right now. At the outset of the show?
Yeah.
Because
it's a really good way to start the show. But apart from anything else, it sets a few things straight.
Namely?
Also it encourages a lot of the people who have come to the show, because they have listened to everything I've written since, 1965 or whenever I started writing songs. So they do know what my politics are and they do understand where my heart is. And they understand sort of why I'm there. But maybe it also gives a message to people who don't want to be there, in which case them effing off to the bar is probably not a bad idea. Except that you never know, those people, if they sit in a community like my audience is on these shows of This Is Not a Drill on this tour, there is such a great feeling of communication in that room between me and the audience, and between us combined with all our brothers and sisters all over the rest of the world, irrespective of who they are, where they live, their ethnicity, their religion, their nationality, or anything else. Because if This Is Not a Drill has a message, it is that we have to communicate one with the other. And I'm not talking about Tucker Carlson. I have no interest in communicating with him. Or
Even though
Rich
he's been on Tucker's
Lombard,
show
he's
several
dead
times.
now, so I can't. I think he's dead now. But I take your point about reading everything, but if I read everything and I read all that rubbish that they speak, I wouldn't have time to do anything else.